This is my first time at Academics Anonymous. I've been a postdoc for 11 months now. Now, many of you might not know exactly what a postdoc is. So a postdoc gets to do essentially the job of a PhD, get paid a little more, and still have no job security. And it gets better and better as time goes on. Initially, it's an option, you might want to do a postdoc before becoming a full-time academic, getting a faculty position. But now it seems that they want you to do somewhere between 2 and 10 postdocs before they'll actually hire you to a position where you have job security. But, postdoc is an interesting position. I'm in a nice open plan office. And since the job is similar to PhD students, I'm in an office with all PhD students. Which means if I'm really, really late getting into work, so I stroll into work about maybe 9:45 a.m., most people go to work around 8, like in normal office jobs, I'm still the first one in the office. So I get to unlock the door, flip on the lights, and feel like I'm super early. Now, I'm also, believe it or not, despite my skin color, my profession, I'm an avid salsa dancer. And that is very important because I have to often explain my research to very non-technical audiences. And when I do, they latch on to the first word that really resonates with them. And what do they do with that first word? They often make a nickname out of it. But before that, I have to approach it in such a way, so I say, yes, my field is acoustics. They're like, oh, that's awesome! And so I get some people like, oh man, so you play the guitar? No. Then other people go up, oh, I know, you're the person who mixes the soundtracks or fades on CDs and masters everything, right? No. And then, oh, you're the person who gets to design the concert halls that have all the splendid acoustics that we listen to. Well, I was technically trained to do that, but no. So all these awesome things everyone thinks I do when I say I work in acoustics, I get to slam that down right away and not be as cool as they expect me to be. But then I get around to explaining my actual research. And then the nicknames come. So the first nickname, I'll introduce the nicknames first, then I'll discuss the research because that's a fun way to do it. The first memorable nickname I got is still actively used in a West Coast San Francisco community of salsa dancers. And there I am known as the Fish Guy. I'm not particularly proud or don't like that one very much, but I have to admit it's a vast improvement, unfortunately, to one I got recently. It has to do with my current research. And now, some East Coast salsa dancers and some salsa dancers in the UK now know me as the shit guy. I'll take the fish guy any day over the shit guy. So going into that, you might think, so this guy's a researcher, and he works with fish and shit. How does that come together? At least I hope you're thinking that, because I'm sure some of you are thinking, is this guy chronically smelly? Well, I hope you're at least asking the former. I think I'm okay tonight. So my field is actually, as I was almost picked on, but not, I was glad that I was given a pass there. My field is acoustics. So what I particularly study in acoustics is bubbles. What is more awesome than bubbles? Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. You can't help but have fun with bubbles, and yet I get nicknames like the fish guy and the shit guy. So with the fish guy, I studied for my PhD how sound propagates through the ocean and travels through schools of fish, and how that affects the sound that bounces back from the fish and the sound that travels through the school of fish. Now, most fish, this is your neat little science fact, have a little air pocket in them that's called a swim bladder. And that's so they remain neutrally buoyant, so they don't have to use any extra energy to stay where they are in the water column, so they don't just sink to the bottom. And that, when you bounce sound off it, is the most visible object acoustically. So that's what you see when you send a ping at it. The fish just look like a cloud of bubbles. So that's what I treated them as, a cloud of bubbles. And I worked with testing in the lab, got to play with a lot of little zebrafish in a tank, kind of singing to them, seeing how they responded. But all this fun research, but the word people cling to is obviously, so you research fish, so you're the fish guy. I can live with that. But the project I'm working on now, it's really kind of the holy grail of projects. Is what, when I started my bachelor's degree, it's the type of research I wanted to be involved in. And you know the nickname it led to. But it's great because what I'm looking at is making bioreactors more efficient. Now, if you don't know what a bioreactor is, you can feed in food waste, municipal waste, essentially shit, and you have microbes that eat it up, several different types of microbes, and they eventually produce methane gas, so that can be used to generate renewable energy. In fact, it's green energy because the methane would be worse for the environment than if you burn it and get the energy out and turn it into CO2. Then you get fertilizer out of it. The solids can become fertilizer. That's a good thing. It's much more environmentally friendly than commercially producing fertilizer. And then you get clean water. I mean, clean water, green energy, fertilizer. Wonderful project. I get to use sound and vibrate bubbles to clean the filters inside these bioreactors to make them more efficient. And you know what nickname I earned for doing that research. But it can't be helped. People latch on to that first comical word they hear. And as I said, I like communicating my scientific research. I love talking to people about it. But there's also a curse involved with this, because I watch TV shows like BBC documentaries or The Mythbusters, and they do a scientific experiment and say, this is how it happens scientifically, this is what we prove it. And I just go, liar! No, it's wrong! And that's the curse, because quite often in science and engineering, we are trained to be pedantic. If it's not the exact right definition, alarm bells go off in our minds. It is quite a pain. And the worst part about it is sometimes I find myself doing it too. It's sad. I mean, I believe that if you have enough time and enough concentration, you can take a complex subject and break it down in such a way that pretty much anyone can understand it. But you don't always have the time or the patience. So I have this idea I really need to get across, and I have to make things up, adapt things, just to get that very important point across. In fact, I will admit sometimes it makes me feel like a little bit like Doctor Who. So, Doctor, where are we? Well, if you imagine a big bubble with one of those little bubbles on the outside. Yeah, I can imagine that. That's nothing what it's like. Oh. And then other times, if I'm talking to someone in my very specific discipline and someone else overhears, it's technobabble. It's wonderful. It could be on a sci-fi show. Oh no, if you increase the mass and move the resonators apart, it will decrease the resonant frequency and reduce the amount of cavitation magnitude. Oh, lovely technobabble. And I enjoy it. So in the end, when I'm communicating my research, I get terrible nicknames and I sometimes get the point across. But overall, it's a very interesting life, and I'd rather life interesting than boring. Thank you very much.